on their own, with the exception of the remaining teeth that grew out into long, dagger-like teeth. All of this on the seemingly normal body of a child. So Anthony's body are deformed into this sort of monster that's fully described within this paragraph. Instead of saying Anthony just became a monster, we give all these details through imagery, through whatever literary devices that you could possibly use in order to kind of show instead of telling. That's one thing that will actually help boost your Criterion C score. It should always focus on show, don't tell. This also applies for emotions. Instead of saying, oh, Anthony was angry, we can say that he slammed the door and stomped out of the room. It allows the audience to understand the same meaning, but it's in a better, a more imaginative way of expressing that anger. So Nick trembles and goes, kid, within a split second gulp. And Anthony goes, rubbing his stomach. Not as good as I'd hoped. Yesterday's one was better. Oh well, off to find another human. See, this is the end of the screenplay, but we can see that it's not a complete movie, it's just one scene. But just from this ending, we get the mystery aspect. We can tell from this that there's been a case of disappearing humans, and the person that's been eating these humans are Anthony, but he hasn't been found out yet. Most likely, there's been uproars in media about how humans have been disappearing, but Anthony is a monster that just goes around eating these humans, and it's a mystery aspect at the end that connects with what the question was. They want a key scene in a mystery movie. So this last few sentences proves that this is in fact part of a mystery movie. So we're actually properly answering the question. So throughout this entire piece, we've been having descriptions of the image itself that shows that we're in line with the prompt, and we're also answering the part that it has to be a key scene in a mystery movie, so we're not going off task of any sort. And we've been including literary devices here and there to increase the score for Criterion C. But let's just go through a breakdown of how Criterion C and Criterion D works. So starting with Criterion C, demonstrates a high degree of insight, imagination, or sensitivity and perceptive exploration of perspectives and ideas. As mentioned, this entire task was about creativity, imagination. Whatever you do, it's important to have a storyline, ending, or any sort of story that the examiner cannot easily predict. It has to be something that the examiner can go, oh, at the very end, something that they didn't expect. It shows that you're able to have a high sense of imagination that even the examiner themselves cannot predict. Makes perceptive stylistic choices in terms of linguistic and literary devices. This is what I've shown throughout the entire piece of writing, such as the use of imagery, hyperbole, simile, and all this. Demonstrating sophisticated awareness of impact on the audience. As mentioned, that the impact on the audience is that it gives them a better idea of what's happening. It makes them more interested and engaged in the story. Selects extensive relevant details and examples to develop ideas with precision. These details and examples are from the image. We have to properly take certain details from the image to prove that we are using this image. And we have to do this with certain precision. Of course, there are certain details that we can make up as long as it's not properly shown in the image. But to an extent, you have to use lots of details that prove that you are indeed using this image. Moving on to Criterion D, uses an effective range of appropriate vocabulary and sentence structures. By sentence structures, they mean like simple, compound, and complex sentences. You normally have to use quite a wide range of all of them. And the appropriate vocabulary, you have to use from simple to more complicated vocabulary to show the range you're able to utilize within this literary piece. Writes in a consistently purposeful register and style that serves the context and attention. This is a screenplay and two characters are having a dialogue. When people normally talk, we don't have this formal style of speaking in comparison to a normal, like, formal piece of writing. So we can use like slangs, we can use a bit of normal language, an informal language that you would normally never use for an academic piece of writing. It shows that you are indeed aware that this is a Screenplay. You're not meant to write formally, you're meant to include informal language here and there. For the narration, you can include formal language. But for the dialogue, you can focus more on informal language. It shows that you are aware of the difference on when to use certain registers and styles. And lastly, uses grammar, syntax, and punctuation with high degree of accuracy. Errors are minimal and communication is effective. And this is the strand that most students find hard to score, including me. This is mostly because there's a time limit no matter what. It's not easy to notice some grammar spelling errors. And the problem is that if you make a simple spelling error, it can completely diminish the meaning of a certain word, which may affect understanding. The moment that some error affects understanding, your grade can be heavily pulled down by this one strand. So it's better to focus more on criterion C because then you have a higher chance of scoring better in criterion C in comparison to criterion D, in which these errors may be difficult to take notice of.